In this video, I am going to give you my top 3 tips of writing a personal statement for a teaching job. Now, just before we run the titles, can I please say that these 3 top tips are not going to mention anything about proofreading or spell checking or grammar or anything like that. I am assuming you already know those tips. Anyway, let's get on with it. Run titles. Hello and welcome to this video and my channel. My name is Wilson Waffling, but please do not let that name fool you. I'm an experienced classroom practitioner with over 22 years of teaching under my belt, and during that time I have sat on and contributed to a number of interview panels and shortlisting groups. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that I look for within a teaching application, and more importantly, what strategies you can employ in order to ensure that those 3 things are within your personal statements. And just to let you know, I have put some bonus tips throughout this video as well, so keep an eye out for those. Now, before we get down to those 3 points, please consider liking, commenting and subscribing to this channel. It would really support this channel and help the channel grow and hopefully reach more people, which my videos might be able to support. And if you can, I would be so grateful if you can share this video to anybody that you know who you think would benefit from these 3 top tips. Okay, enough waffling, let's get on with it. Okay, now before the first top tip, I would just like to throw out a bonus tip here, and that tip would be to make sure that you do your research. It's really important that you have a really good understanding of what the school is about. You've visited the school if possible, you've looked at their website, you've looked at the recent Ofsted inspection result, you've done your background reading on the school, and you've got a good understanding and knowledge of that. Okay then, let's get on. So, top tip number 1, cover the appropriate content for the job. Okay then, so a lot of the times all the times that I'm reading personal statements and getting an indication about the applicant, I really want to see how that person would fit into our school, into our philosophies, into our ethos of the school. And it's really important that your personal statement reflects the school that you're applying to. Now, I have to say that in the past, I have read personal statements that are very generic. It's obvious that they haven't thought about our school, they haven't engaged with what we're about and what we're doing. And it really sort of like makes me just put them to one side, because I want to read a personal statement of an applicant who is interested in working in the school. Now, once you've done all your research, the other most important thing to do now, or the strategy in order to achieve this appropriateness, I would suggest that you write your personal statement in sections. And this allows for several things to happen. But the first thing is it allows you to write a section at a time, and which almost like breaks up the huge personal statement into little bits. And within these sections, you can choose one element of your teaching that you want to focus on or you think is important to share with schools that you're applying to. So one of the things might be behavior management. It might be to do with planning. It might be to do with how you teach in the classroom. But there might be other things as well that are additional to that core element of teaching. It might be that you have a real understanding and passion about working with children with special educational needs and disabilities. It might be that you are really passionate about a creative curriculum or developing skills. It might be that within your course you have done a subject specialism and you might be, excuse me, passionate about teaching mathematics or English. And the important thing is to almost like say to yourself, right, let's write a little paragraph about each of those areas. And then when you're applying for a job, you can use a jigsaw technique. And what I mean by that is that although your introduction will stay the same, although hopefully remember to write in the name of the school that you're applying to, and if you went to visit, say how nice it was to visit and meet everybody. But write it in the sense that you want to meet the, not the demands, but the ethos of the school. So if the school has a creative curriculum, then put that element in. If you want to demonstrate your how good you are at music or PE, then put that part in. And almost like spend some time adapting your personal statement. So when the person from the school is reading it, it sounds as if you are the missing piece within their jigsaw puzzle. And you're that person who, if they employ you, will just slot in and make that jigsaw a whole jigsaw. Okay, top tip number 2, make your personal statement personal. Now, I wasn't actually aware that there are templates out on the interweb which you can actually look, download and use for your personal statements. Now, I'm not saying avoid those. I'm saying that those might be a really good starting point, especially if you're completely new to writing a personal statement. But these are only really appropriate for that starting point and should not actually be used as the final product. And the reason I say this is because they are generic and they contain generic sentences, generic phrases and generic skills. And you are not generic. You are unique. You are an unique person, and your personal statement needs to be unique, just as the same as you. Now, one of the ways or strategies I would suggest you do this to improve that uniqueness of self is to actually provide examples. So let me say that if we're talking about behavior and say the school runs a positive behavior strategy policy, everybody is going to be talking about positive behavior strategies. Or if they run a creative curriculum, everybody's going to be talking about creative curriculums. But the important thing to make it personal and unique is to provide examples of how you have done that. And what you should be trying to do within each little section, think about the message, the point of that section, what you're trying to portray to your current or your future employers. Give them an example that you can demonstrate that, yes, you not only believe that, but you actually implement it in the classroom. So using phrases such as within my second school experience, within my first school practice, give them some taste of what you actually have done. So if you like building a safe and caring environment within your classroom, how do you do that? How have you done it? And, you know, hopefully at interview, some of the questions might be, you know, ask you to develop that or actually expand on it. And I must say that a lot of the times I have read really personal statements with really good examples. And my feedback has been, after I've done the essential criteria job, is any other comments is, I want to meet this person. And that's what you're aiming for. You're wanting the person who's reading your personal statement to think, I want to meet this person, because it's unique to you. And finally, top tip number 3, celebrate. This is not the time to be modest. Okay, so you will never know how many people are actually applying for a post. Sometimes you get to know that afterwards, and at that point you're quite pleased that you didn't know beforehand. But it's important to remember that there are going to be a lot of people applying for the job. Okay, and it's important that you celebrate your positive skills, your positive experience, and don't focus on the negative. Always share the positive. And I often say to people, this is not the time to be modest, because nobody else is being. I'm not telling you to lie or not put the truth down. What I'm saying is, think about your language and the language you are using. For example, try not to use phrases such as apart from. I've done all this apart from that. Okay, you don't need to add that, almost like that clarifying statement. Be positive and say what you have done. Other words are most of the time, almost completed, things like this. And try to read it and think, is this portraying me positively? Because you can guarantee that everybody else is adopting that positive language as well. So don't be that person who's not. And definitely ask your tutors, your friends, your parents, any other professionals that you know, to have a read of it. Ask them, what does it sound like? Does it sound like you? Especially if they know you, because that's important. Remember that top tip number 2, it's meant to be a representation of you. And, listen to their feedback, but remember it is only feedback. And we're not saying, nobody's saying that if you change this, you'll get a job. What people are saying to you is that this is how it felt like. This is what I thought. And then you, as the professional, needs to think, right, do I need to change that in order to ensure that I'm coming across as myself, as somebody who knows what they're good at, but also knows what there needs to be developed. And this is going to be another bonus top tip. Before you start your personal statement, write down things that you're good at and things that you need to develop. Okay? And this is really important because there's often a question at interview that talks about something like, thank you for all your answers today. Can you tell me one thing that you hope to develop within your first year? Or what do you need to develop and work on within your teaching? And it's a really important question. And remember, the question is not saying, what are you bad at? The question is saying, what do you need to develop? And that's an important difference, because even in your first job, you are still working towards that goal of being an outstanding teacher. And that's it, my 3 top tips for writing a personal statement. Make sure that you make it personal to yourself. Make sure it's personal to the school. And finally, celebrate what you're good at. This is not a time to be modest. Okay, I hope those strategies have helped you. And if you have any strategies that you wish to share or any comments, then feel free to add them in the comments section below. And do let me know if there's anything that you would like me to do a video on in the future, so that I can support you all. Until then, have a wonderful day, week, month, and I will catch you all later. And until then, stay positive. See ya. Bye.